Welcome to September's virtual gratitude retreat. It's been a beautiful month with so much to reflect upon, so much to talk about. But let's settle in first. If you have a candle on your table, you can go ahead and light that. It always invites in a beautiful, relaxing atmosphere. It is mesmerizing to look at. And in the humidifier, I'm adding a few drops of our essential oil blend. It's nearly finished, so I have to shake it to get some out. And that means that for October, we'll be making a new blend. There we go. So that video is available to watch. A deep breath, or 2 or 3 deep breaths, are always welcome when it comes to finding your center and finding that midpoint where you can gather all your things, gather your thoughts, gather your mind, and reflect on this month. Now, with the 2 other printable pages, you could reflect on your week by seeing how certain things connect with each other. So let's say something happened on Monday, and that Monday thing, or we could say the main theme for Monday, had a certain emotional effect on you. So you could say, what did it look like from the other person's point of view? What would it look, or what did it look like from your point of view? And then what is that midpoint that brings the 2 point of views together? How can you be objective about that thing? And if this was bigger, you could draw out your own big one over a double spread in your sketchbook. You could write in certain key phrases or words or things that you would have done differently had you known what that middle concept was. That is the bridge between what the other person was thinking, feeling, and saying, and then what you were thinking, feeling, and saying. And you can do the exact same thing for Tuesday. What was their opinion or view? What was your opinion or view? And what was that midpoint that brought it all together? And we can do the same for Wednesday. Their view, your view, and what brought it together. Thursday, what was their view, what was your view, and what brought it together. Friday, what was their view, your view, and what brought it together. And Saturday, what was your view, or their view, your view, and what brought it together. Now, I like to do my reflections on a Sunday. That's why in this middle point is today, the Sunday. And between Sunday and Tuesday, there are also connections. So that is the connection between Sunday and Tuesday, Sunday and Wednesday, Sunday and Thursday, Sunday and Friday, Sunday and Saturday, Sunday and Monday. Which goes to show that everything that happened this week happened for a reason. And on the day you do your reflection is the day you'll have in the middle. So let's say you want to do your reflection on a Wednesday. Then your first day will be Thursday, then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday in the middle. If your reflection day is on a Friday, you'll have Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So it doesn't matter what day you start in, it doesn't matter um, how you lay out your grid. What's important is that you see the connections, notice the connections. And in all of that, all those keywords will help you to see the bigger picture. Now, once you have the theme for this week, or the main topic, or the thing you learned, the wisdom you gained, right? Because today we are looking at our wisdom. We are seeing the seeds of wisdom. We are discovering how our own experience evolves into wisdom for whatever comes next, whatever we are experiencing next. And when we do the monthly reflection, we could take a single theme for every week. We could take a single theme for every day of the week. You could have a, and I'm not saying you're going to have a 6 week month, but you could take 6 concepts or 6 events or 6 key points and place them in there, and then see how all of that trickles down to this month's theme. So, whatever month it is, all of those keywords there would come together to tell you the story of September or October or November, whenever you're doing your session. And do yourself a favor, write the date there as you discover these keywords, key concepts, key ideas of what is happening in your life, what is going on in your world, what are the things that are shaping your environment. And then you have a beautiful reflection grid that you can now experiment and play with. So let me show you what I mean. We've done a lot of things this month, and our journey will continue as we finalize our cover design for our sketchbook journal. But today is going to be about this finding the seeds of wisdom, discovering our own experiences, and we're going to use this grid initially, but I'm also going to let you redraw it on a blank page. Now, if you had a large A3 sheet, you could do it on a large A3. If you want to open your sketchbook and do it in the middle on a double spread, you can do that. If you want to do it on a single page, you can do it on a single page. And if you want to do it as part of a little A5 journal, you could fold your page and then work on both sides as we progress. And then later, this can become part of a little journal. Right. So there are many, many options of how you can do this, but the main key is that we have a blank page to work on, that we have our information of how our month went, how our week went, and you can do that in your own time some other time. But now I'm going to show you how to play with creative themes, creating a reflection grid and reflect that way. Now, I love going to the ocean or going to the beach or walking along a river or a pond. Let me just get some of these things out the way that I'm not going to use right now and take a sip of my tea. And because September's theme coincided with August's theme, and we're still busy with the seashells and the designs and the freestyle patterns, I made a collage sheet for us to cut out and collage in our circle. But we have to prep our page. Now you can use any round object you want. All we are looking for is 3 different sizes. So you'll have a center circle. Let's say we can draw that over there. And then we take a bigger circle and draw that. And then maybe a plate or a bowl. And then we draw that bigger circle there. Now I'm going to take a little bit of a shortcut and use my compass. So for that first circle, and I'm not even going to measure, I'll make sure my finger can fit in between there, or even my thumb, about that wide. And you can guess where the center is, or you can fold your page and create the center. Right? And then draw your first circle. And then let's widen that by another finger width. That will give us enough room to cut out our elements and arrange them around the circle. So maybe a thumb width. Okay, there we go. And then one more thumb width. I reckon that should do. So on this beautiful little grid, we are going to cut out our elements and stick them on here. Now, I did ask you to prep for the virtual gratitude retreat by printing out your reflections in water collage sheet, then cutting out your ephemera, and to meet me here in the studio. And by the magic of cutting out and video editing, I have mine ready. So I'll start with these sand dollars, and I'll cut them out properly so they have no little straggly little edges, and place them around. So here I'm not using glue yet. I'm just placing them so that I can sort of orientate my mind into where I want them to be placed. We have a total of 9 little sand dollars, but I'm only adding 8. Next are those little scallops, and they are going to be placed in between. So we will definitely have a spare one there as well. Now I like their pointy ends facing inwards. These next little shells are called mitre or mitre shells. They have a little tropical feel to them. I painted mine in pink so that it fits in with this theme and that I'm still using the same colors we've used throughout September. Now these little shells just fit in between, and I'm trying to fill that gap because I know when I get to the green circles that I'm going to cut those green circles into quarters, and those quarters will put them in between the last outline and that last row of seashells. So let's do that and now place them in with their points facing inwards as well. Quarters. I'm already thinking that I might
If you
color
want more
these a little bit
circles, you can always
darker
print
or add
another
an
page.
accent, but let's not get ahead of
Let's see.
ourselves. Let's do that when we actually paint the background
Of
and have a little reflection moment before we do that. So we don't haste into just adding color randomly, that we really think about what we want to do. And also just make sure that we are calming the mind instead of letting the mind race in worrying about what the color should look like or what the end result should look like, but that we rather enjoy the process and be easy with ourselves as we create and play. The way we've put all of these things together and the way they fit around the circles is just something that happens naturally when we give in to this creative process. And if for some reason you need more, you can always reprint the page and cut out the ones you need. And if you want to create 2 or 3 smaller ones, then you can always adapt your pattern to that. And if you want to use these on the edge of a sketchbook or on the spine of your next design, that is also a possibility. Now, while I cut out my sea star or starfish, I want to talk to you about gratitude, as today's session becomes a beautiful layering of collage as we reflect on our week, on our month, and also see all the things we have to be grateful for, and that there really isn't much missing in our lives if we have the ability to watch this video, if we are able to print these pages, if we have free time to sit down and create. Even that can be something to be grateful for. Now, I love writing down all the things I'm grateful for. Grateful for color and fresh air, my plants, the garden that is growing, wind, rain, nature, anything. So I want my little starfish to show upwards, and I think that's a good spot for it. Now I do want to reflect on the colors I want to use here, because I want these elements to stand out and not blend into the background. So we can go either 2 ways. We can go very, very light with the background, or we can add a pop of color, which I think I'm leaning more towards. So my glue is Mod Podge that I put in here, and I like to use the matte version. It's really eager to get out and work. So let me just reverse this for a second and get some glue on there. Now I'm not going to collage it by putting any glue on the outside, because I still want to add more watercolor and design elements on here. I could seal it in later, but for now I literally only want to glue them down, and you can use any glue you like, but I like this process. It gives me a little bit of control, and it I don't need that extra sheet of paper to compensate for the spillover, and I can go as close to the edge as I want, making it as easy as possible for you and your process. So while you're sticking that down, I want you to think about the beautiful things you've experienced this month. Those things that you are grateful for, the beauty that surrounds you, the opportunities that came your way, conversations you had, the friends you met, and the overall feeling of joy you cultivated throughout this month. And if for some reason you forgot to do that for yourself, maybe now is a good time to think about the things that you can do for the next month as we begin to set our intentions and bring in a sense of gratitude for what we already have. The door will open for the things that we still need, for the things that we still want to enter our lives. And just being grateful for the current things, the current situations, the current opportunities, we can easily see the wisdom needed for the next step, for the next phase, for the next thing on our wish list, so that we don't forget what we really want, but that we gradually get there and support ourselves in reaching those beautiful milestones. Now, if nobody has said they care about your vision or your mission or your ideas lately, and that they support you 100%, I want you to say that to yourself. Say, I support me. I acknowledge my needs. I am grateful for the journey I am on. Because nobody can live your life and your journey for you. It is your journey, it is your expression and your time to create what you need on this life path made especially for you. This reminds me of that little hermit crab who goes hunting for his new shell. He goes from one shell to the next and hunts for a new home that will fit him better because he's grown. And I want you to remember that you grow every single month. You grow even every single week into a better version of yourself. We are never in competition with anyone else but ourselves. And if you feel that you are competing for a place in this world, why not release that thought today and find a home, a place to fit in that you can call your own? Whether that is a community, a group of friends, or even conversations where your voice is heard, where your opinions matter, and make yourself a home where you can feel appreciated, Our environment shapes so much of the outcome, while our internal dialogue shapes a lot of our internal, shall we say, turmoil or troubles. But it also helps us to figure things out. And if you're struggling with things and going through a tough time, maybe you need to change your environment. Maybe you need to go for a walk, to see what's outside, to look at new scenery, to escape the thing that you do not want, and to move past the things that no longer serve you. Just like we're going to throw away the cutouts and the parts that we don't want, so too you can cut out the things that don't fit you anymore and that don't fit into your life either. That way you'll be ensured of a better feeling and a better fit, just like that little hermit crab who scurries along to find the perfect little seashell to live in and to start his new journey on. All right. Now, speaking of journeys, if for some reason you didn't know that you could journey with us every month, there is a link in the video description below that you can follow and consider that your invite to journey with us. And the perfect time to start a journey is during the week of the virtual gratitude retreat, because that is when all of the current month's weekly sessions are on, and it's just before we transition into the new month where you will have access to all the new contents as it comes in. So the previous month, the one we are in now, will expire on that first Friday when we start uploading the new month's content. So you have a little grace period between now and that first Friday of the new month to get in and enjoy this month's journey. So if you're joining us later today, this journey here is the 28th of September 2025, and you can find more virtual gratitude retreats when you become a mini self-mastery member and have access to all of these printables, all of the resources we share every month, and of course our virtual gratitude retreats. So once all of your things are stuck down, I want you to give it a little bit of a breather. Give yourself some downtime. Maybe sit quietly and think about things that are going on in your life. Sharpen your pencils or wake up your watercolor palette. Now, I like to do that with my little water bottle. Not to say that I am going to use my watercolor palette, but I do want to add a little detail in the middle of my circle around all of my seashells. And I'm thinking maybe a green. I initially wanted to do this pink, but I'm having second thoughts about it. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. So Let's just stir it up because some of those granules are at the bottom. Maybe I want this color. It's weird that I can't make up my mind. Well, there's quite a bit of it. Let's see if this green. I'm going to create a little bit of a neutral there before it transitions. But let's see the other side. I'm thinking of that cobalt turquoise, which is this one in my palette. And that's going to create a little bit of a purpley transition, which is a cool neutral. Both of them look nice. Hmm. Hmm. And my question to myself is, are we going for a neutral or something a little bit more electric? So that's a different bluish green to that. And this is also, see something. Let me see something. If I take that green, take that blue. See that both of them will work, you know. Okay, I'm going to give it a bit of a breather, think about it, finish my tea, and then come back in a few minutes and then decide. And a few minutes turned into an afternoon of laziness, which means I am now completely relaxed. I've thought about the colors, the things I want to put in here, and I'm going to stick with the color palette. Let me relight my candle here and settle in. By now, my palette has dried up, so I'm just spritzing it again and waking up those glorious watercolors so that we can continue this background. In the beginning, I was unsure of which colors to choose, but I am very sure now. And I think that center part is going to be filled in with a teal. Now, for this last part, I was joined by a family member who sat quietly next to me and also enjoyed their own mindful practice. We were trying to be as quiet as possible, just each absorbed in our own creativity. So you might hear other noises that I'm not making, but that are part of this session. So mixing up isn't a problem here because I'm working straight from my palette using that Daniel Smith's Cobalt Turquoise here in that center circle around the starfish and around the sand dollars. Now this is going to be a really slow process and without any additional noises or distractions or music or anything happening. We are just going to color in our background. Now, whatever you are busy doing is 100% fine. I'll just let the video run and let you catch up as we proceed. We'll talk some more in a few minutes. Listening back to this, I'm surprised at how quiet we are. Maybe we were respecting each other's quiet time and each not making a single peeping sound. Now, this part here is, it looks like there's a color difference, but I'm pretty sure it's just because one part is wet and the other part is dry. So I'm just adding a little bit of water from a damp brush to blend that out. So we're reaching the point where I have to decide what we're going to do with this large background or the large pieces around the circle. And I'm thinking that's where my pre-mixed pink can come in. Now I have some of these markers, glitter markers, and these are vibrantly pink. So all I'm going to do is add a few accents. A little dot here and there, a mark to accentuate a bubble or a carbuncle or a crevice, anything to add a little bit of sparkle and detail. Now I don't want to overdo this sparkle, and I also suggest that you keep moderation in mind when adding some sparkle to your work. It's just a little accent, and we don't want to overpower it with this color or even the amount of shimmer. So next up, I noticed inside the sand dollars are these 5 openings that I can fill in with the same cobalt turquoise as that circle behind it. That will give it more dimension and make it look like it is on top of that surface. Otherwise, what are those white marks for? While you are creating, you'll also discover little things that you might have missed or things you want to add, accents you want to bring in. I'm already thinking I'm going to take some of this cobalt teal and accentuate some of my clamshells, making them, well, did I say clamshells? They're actually scallops. So I'm accentuating the scallops and just adding dimension, a few extra lines just to change the shape a little bit. Nothing too major, but it's also a moment for me to think about the next step or sort of get back into the flow of painting and adding color so that it comes naturally, so I don't have to overthink it or stress about it. Just small steps, making it easy and gentle. I'm trying to squeeze that color into the little triangles with part of the brush still being empty with no color or pigment and only the tip having a little bit of color. So you'll notice we've lost sound because the microphone's battery went dead. And that's why I'm doing a voiceover for this last part. But we're not missing anything. It was a really quiet, peaceful session with just nature sounds and the evening sounds coming in. And it's so gentle and soft that I hope you're also giving your ears time to listen to your surroundings, to hear what's going on in the world around you, instead of numbing it with too many sounds going on in the background, too many distractions. I know it's difficult sometimes to be alone with our own thoughts, but having time for the brain to not be preoccupied with other distractions is a way for you to notice where you are. What are you going through? What are you feeling? And then, of course, as a reminder again, what are we grateful for? How do all of these things fit together and come together to create an environment where we can notice our own wisdom, where we can hear our voice, where we can become aware of messages from the divine. And none of that is possible if we're constantly being distracted, constantly being drawn back to the television, drawn back to social media. These mindful sessions with yourself is a quiet time where you get to reflect and experiment and create and play. And even if you just do this once a month to give yourself some time off, it would be so much more beneficial than ending the month on a stressful note. Now, I don't want to tell you what to do or suggest that you indulge in creativity, but that's a beautiful way to balance out our mind because we are always busy with left brain thinking. We're at work, we're solving problems, we're thinking about the menu, we're thinking about what we're going to eat today and tomorrow and the next week, or planning something. There's always something going on in our minds. But if you can give your brain a little break like this, it's going to open up the portals for greater and better things and to also relieve stress. And you know what? If you find yourself relaxed and calm after a session like this, it's far better to go to sleep or take a nap or pick up a book and read so that this lingering euphoric pleasure can linger a little bit longer. Adding a little bit of color to these smaller shells will just uplift them a little bit. I think they were a little bit pale, but I mean, you can use them as is or use them up with a bit of extra pink or some orange if you want orange, or completely change their color if you want to. I mean, you're doing your thing, and whatever colors you decided on will be perfectly fine. All right. It is time now to fill in that background. And it's going to go really, really quick because it's just going to be one color. I pre-mixed it, and if you need to pre-mix your color, then that would be perfect to just slap on with the biggest brush you've got on your table and create that background so that we can finish off today's session. Now, using a bigger brush for a larger surface like this will help you spread the paint faster so that it doesn't dry into a solid line, especially if it's already warm or if the room is being warmed up by some kind of artificial means. Keeping that wet edge, or at least guiding the paint while it is still wet, moving from both directions, will help to prevent a solid line from forming. It's important to have that paint the same type of wet or the same saturation, if I can put it that way, so that it goes on as evenly as possible. But again, you are free to do on your background what you please. I am keeping that wet edge wet by when I see that the paint is drying a little bit, I just tap in a little extra paint. But I'm trying to be careful so I don't go over this circle and still have paint flowing. maybe this paper is a little bit on the dry side. So you'll see here and there are patches, but I'm not concerned about that because if I'm going to digitize this, I can always edit it out or just live with it. We'll live with the imperfections and experiment. And if you don't like it, you can always cut out your circle and stick it on another surface or use it for something else. It is completely up to you. The main goal of today was to relax, to play along, to collage, to fill in your weekly reflection, your monthly reflection, and to just unwind at the end of the month. So, as you can tell, we are just about finished with today's session. And in the quiet times, you have discovered creative practices, you have explored things, you've mixed up beautiful colors, but most importantly, you have given yourself permission to take a break. And that permission is what we were after. There's a power in giving yourself permission to do nothing. But there's also this opposing force of feeling guilty for not doing anything that is productive. But if you can settle your overproductivity and give yourself permission to at least once a month just do nothing, then you'll feel like you've given back to yourself. Okay, let me give you a close up of what we've done here today and a little peek at how much detail or how little detail I really added, and a final look at today's virtual gratitude retreat results. Thank you for being here, and thank you for taking the time to give back to yourself.